Hi, got a silly beer from Decadent Ales, who only do decadent things, apparently. It's their double toasted marshmallow, double IPA. I've passed on all the beers before, I guess mainly because they're really hard to get around here still, but now they're being brewed by Dorchester Brewing Company, so it's easier to get those. But I think the first time this beer was brewed, it was done as part of the 12% brewing project, where they find places to kind of tenant brew. They go and they brew there, mostly in southern Connecticut. But this is a version at Dorchester, so a little bit bigger batch. Dorchester does usually a pretty good job. They haven't really blown my mind with anything in a while. And I don't know if this beer is extremely fresh. I'm sure it's fresher than 2 months. But they give you a weird code on the bottom here that doesn't really tell you anything. Probably I think it's the first batch maybe that Decadent did of this beer at Dorchester Brewing. It is 9.5% alcohol, and on tap it says 9.1. On this can it says 9.5, and it uses mosaic hops and dry hop amongst other things. But the special part of this that makes it like a marshmallow is lots of vanilla bean and muscovado, turbinado, and coconut sugars. I don't know where the toasted part comes in though exactly. Maybe just vanilla lends a toastiness. There's no smoke malt or anything in here. And it's pretty clear. I wonder if there's some sediment on the bottom. Maybe I'll try to get a little bit in there. Yeah. Very nice controlled carbonation, good looking head. I guess it looks a lot like Schloing, the Omnipollo beer that Dorchester brews. Just a very light haze, but it does not glow, and it's not opaque at all like that, but looks good otherwise. One thing that's unique about this is that they don't use lactose in it. A lot of these marshmallow beers, super weird flavor, sweet IPAs like this, especially if they have vanilla in them, they'll use lactose, but that's not in here. They do use 3 special sugars though, and it has quite a bit of a coconut aroma. They just use coconut sugar that's not it's not really that big on the coconut. But I'm noticing that, probably coming from the hops and all that sweet malt also. And I guess they probably used slightly toasted coconut sugars. I guess maybe the toastiness is coming from these sugars themselves and how they're just lightly caramelized. It's not really translating as caramel in the aroma though. It definitely is vanilla, coconut, all those kind of sweet islandy spices. And I'm not getting a huge amount of fruitiness. I guess it smells a little bit pina colada-y. They could have definitely called it that, but the mosaic is lending maybe slightly more of a peaches and cream type thing, or like a slightly roasted peach. It's not juicy, it's like a cooked fruitiness. But I'll give it a try. I usually don't like to do these really big, super sweet IPAs. Lots of body. Lots of vanilla in the flavor. That is kind of a weird beer. It almost seems more like one of these blonde stouts that brewers have been making, where they use like vanilla and coffee and a bunch of oats in a sweet, strong beer, but then they don't use any dark malts or anything. Yeah, there's a little bit of more bitterness in those beers though. I do get some drying out in the finish, but it is very sweet, has a very big body. It's not boozy, or very harsh for 9.5%. Yeah, it's a pretty nice body. Even though it's not very hazy, you don't have that thick, creamy, really, really juicy, like orange juice type thing. It's more of a nice blonde barley wine almost feel to it. And it finishes with lots and lots of that sugar, almost honey, almost like a baklava flavor, just like all these sweet, nutty, barely toasty sugar flavors. I haven't said exactly marshmallow because it's got too much going on for it. It's like fancy marshmallow. It's not just your normal sort of fake marshmallow flavoring. I'm still not getting much heat at all. I mean, I can tell it's strong, but it isn't harsh. They did a pretty good job with this at Dorchester Brewing. I think you got to be in the mood for that, though. I would recommend this to a lot of people who like big sweet things like barley wines, and are hesitant about hoppier beers, because this one, the hops are really a side note to all that sugar flavor and vanilla. And this would be a good one to like put on a dessert. Maybe you flambe this. Actually, you can't flambe it. It's not strong enough. But it would be nice to put in, maybe like mix it with a little bit of whipped cream. Hopefully that won't make it separate. And put it on top of, I don't know, a blondie brownie thing. That's what it makes me think of. But it is, I think, different from any other IPA I've had. I've had so many of these lactose beers, and a lot of them, that lactose kind of messes things up. They didn't use it right, or it brings out some quality of the beer that isn't pleasant to me. But maybe breweries should think about just using some fancy sugars like they do in this one instead of lactose to avoid that, sickeningly sweet or chalkiness or any of that stuff. And also, this beer is vegan, so we should give vegan people their marshmallow vanilla beers, Yeah, it almost smells like it was dry hopped with sugar, which doesn't make much sense. The vanilla isn't overwhelming. It really blends in with the sugars a lot. And it has a sweet nuttiness to it. There should be maybe more nut IPAs, more like macadamia nut IPAs, stuff like that. What do they use in pistachio IPA? I feel like that would work, because this did remind me a little bit of like baklava, like honey and pistachio on an IPA with a really floral, but yet fruity hops. That might make a really cool beer. This beer is definitely giving me ideas, though I don't really homebrew anymore. But a pretty nice body, and really, really palatable for being so strong and sweet. I would give it a straight 4. It has just under that on Untapped. I can see this being too sweet for a lot of people. That's what a lot of my friends have said. But it's definitely worthy of being a beer. And if you're in the mood for a really mellow, kind of blonde barley wine, white stout like IPA, I really got to put question marks or quotation marks around IPA for this beer, even more so than a lot of the milkshake IPAs I've had, because there's not much hop or bitterness that, in my mind, I know it's affecting the flavor, but it's really just somehow supporting the sugar and vanilla in a cool way. So, yeah, recommended. 4.